Restringing a folk, country or dreadnought style guitar. You'll need a new set of strings, wire cutters and a cloth, but a string winder would be handy. We'll look at the two most common saddle types, and that is the type with pins and without pins. Because the saddles without pins are the easiest ones to work with, we'll deal with this saddle type first. If you'd like to see string replacement on the type of saddle with pins, jump to the point about 12 minutes into this video. Acoustic guitars with this type of tailpiece are probably the easiest ones to restring. You can see here it's literally just a hole, and the hole's big enough for the string to pass through but not big enough for the nipple, which is this metal point here. So when you put the new string in, you literally just thread it through this hole and the nipple prevents it from going right the way through. You can see this string is broken, so our first job would be to remove this string altogether, all traces. So first we'll take that out. So then the hole is clear now and ready for a new string to go through, and then we need to do the other end. So once we've removed the string remains from the other end, we have to come and get them from this end, and you can see here's the bits of the broken string wrapped around the ferrule there on the tuning peg, and we just literally unwind that, pull it off and remove it, and there you have it, ready for the new string to be put on. I always use the opportunity, whilst there's no string or strings on, to clean the area underneath the string. There's many areas on your guitar, around the headstock, the fingerboard, underneath here where you strum the guitar, right the way through to the saddle and the bridge, where normally you just can't get at it because the strings are there. So you can use this as an opportunity to clean those points up. Today I'll be putting these rotor sound 9s on this particular guitar. 9s is the gauge of strings, and it tells you how thick they are. 9s are probably the thinnest for an acoustic guitar. These ones go from 9 at the thinnest to 48W for wound at the thickest. They're phosphor bronze acoustic guitar strings, it says here. Metal guitar strings should always go on a guitar with metal guitar strings, and never try and put metal guitar strings on an acoustic guitar with nylon strings. You can actually do the guitar harm. Each guitar is designed for specific strings, so you can't change the style of guitar just by putting nylon strings on a steel strung guitar or the other way around. This is not a good idea. Right, here we have the first string unwrapped. This is the 9, which is the top E string. We need to uncoil it and simply find the hole with the end of the string and push it through. You'll notice the nipples have been lined up to run down the groove at the end, so I'm going to line that up so it's the same. There we go. So that's simple as that on that end. We now have to go to the other end to wind it onto the machine head. So let's drag this down the guitar. Here at the headstock end, we need to thread the string round the appropriate tuning peg once or twice, and then thread it through the hole, preferably pulling down on the string because it holds it in place. There we go. Now you'll notice there's a lot of 3 string here. It's a good idea to cut this off or coil it up when you're finished, because it can be quite dangerous. That's really sharp, it's like a needle, and kids and animals it can do damage to. If you cut it off, leave an inch at least to start with, because it may slip slightly, and if you cut it very close and it slips, it'll just come through and you'll need to buy another new string. So give yourself at least an inch to allow for it to slip until it's settled. You can cut that inch off in a couple of weeks' time when the string's settled into place. Another important thing is make sure the string is going through the correct slot in the nut. This is a 3-a-side, 3 tuning pegs this side, 3 tuning pegs this side. Always winds from the middle. This is important. They should all wind the correct way, and on the 3 each side they always wind from the middle. So on this side of the guitar it's actually winding clockwise, whereas on this side of the guitar they'd be winding anti-clockwise. Very important that, because when you tune the guitar you need them all to tune in the correct direction. Right, I've turned the guitar around so you can see what I'm doing, show you the same things again. Here it is coming through the appropriate and round. The next thing we need to do is just tighten it up, take off all the slack first. Now there is a tool you can use if you want to speed this up, and this is it. This is a winder, and we put that on, and all it does is it speeds the whole process up, so I don't have to stand there for hours. If you're changing strings a lot, very useful. Only a couple of quid or bucks depending where you're based. When you get close to being in tune, lose this and start doing it with your fingers again, so you don't break a string. So that was how to replace one broken string. Now I'm going to replace the remaining strings in the fashion I'd use to replace a whole set of strings. To speed things up, you could wind off each string one by one. This could take a while. So to speed the process up, I use wire cutters. This looks brutal, but it doesn't do the guitar any harm at all, providing you're careful, of course. See how quick that is. Now I just remove all of the remaining bits of string from this end. Stiff. There we go. So now we'll go to the other end and remove the bits of string from the other end. You can see bits of string going in every direction at this end from where I've put them at the other end. So I just wind them off one by one. It's still time consuming, but it's not as bad as if I had to wind them from scratch. Actually, I'll return to that one last. Let's get these off first because they're all matting around it. One. Out of camera shot, I'm actually reeling these up to keep them tidy. Next one. These have actually got knots in, which is a bit awkward. So here's a tip. If you get a loop, one of these bits of string you've cut off earlier, we've got some loops here that I can't get undone. So you literally put the string you cut off earlier, a little piece of string, and you use it as a tool. So I can now get that round, loop it round, and pull. There we go. And the string comes off. Let's show you that again. So we've got another loop here in the machine head there, and I push this bit of broken string through, loop it and get hold of it. So I'm using that now like a tool, and pull. Da-da. And we continue on with the other strings. Hopefully these aren't knotted in the same way. Now we'll move on to the next string, which will be the 13 gauge, which is the B string, which goes here alongside the top E string. If you're not sure which gauge string to use, it's always got a list on the packet where it'll actually show you here you've got 9, 13, 18, and just follow the list if you're not sure. Remember, the thickest is obviously the bottom E string, and the thinnest is obviously the top E string. So let's do the B string, the 13, in exactly the same way we did the E string. So we unravel the string first, then we find the hole, locate the hole. There we go, through the hole. Again, if you remember before, the nipples were lined up, so we'll do the same thing, line them up so they all sit in the groove like that. There we go, and then we just do exactly what we did before. So we'll cut now and go to the other end of the guitar. Here we are at the other end of the guitar. We need to thread the string down through the appropriate slot in the nut, hold it down with your finger, and then bring it round once maybe, again holding it down with your finger, pushing it through this hole. There we go, pull that down, pull it tight so it doesn't come out again. There we go, that's right. Making sure it's in the slot again, you know, double checking. We can then start tightening that up. Again, to speed it up, I'll use a string winder. So we put that on the end and make sure we're going the right way. It's worth pluck the string as you're winding so you can hear how far you've gone. again, I'm not going to tune it all the way until we've fitted all the strings. So now I'll go on and do all the strings and we'll finish off. Another tip worth mentioning, especially as you get down to the thick strings, if you notice, if I push the bottom E string through here, when I find the hole, there we go, it gets stuck and you can't get it through, and it's quite difficult to get your finger under there. If you have this problem, the trick is to bend the string upwards before you put it through. Once you've got a bend like that in, you put it through the hole again, and lo and behold, it comes above that, so you don't have to struggle trying to get it. There you go. Da-da. Notice at this then, we've finished the restringing now, and all the nipples are aligned down the groove the way they were when we found it. We'll go to the other end now and cut the excess string off, and that'll be it done. We cut the excess string off with wire cutters. Again, I leave an inch to be sure, and make sure it's the loose string you cut and not the string on the inside, so pull it free first. There you go, a little more than an inch there, that doesn't really matter as long as it's not going all over the place. There you go, that'll do for the time being, and then I can tidy it up more. Maybe they're a little long. It needs to be tuned a couple of times, and then it'll settle in, and then it'll be good. That's the guitar done. This is the pin type of guitar, and you notice these that almost look like lubs. They're the pins, and these are almost certainly the most difficult of the folk acoustic type to change, because we need either a special tool or a pair of pliers, either the thin nose type, or if you're careful you can use wire cutters, just as long as you're very careful. But you also notice with a string tightener, they have a little bit here, little recess, and you see that is designed for removing these pins. So we'll show you how that's done now. On this guitar you'll notice there's a broken string here. This string obviously needs replacing, but I've noticed on this one, this string must have been changed recently because the pin is actually loose, finger tight. So I can easily remove it. In many circumstances this isn't the case. Now with a string winder, on the other side of the string winder you have this little loop. Virtually all string winders have this loop in it, and this is a pin remover. Now really we should work from the end and do the end string first, but as we're second string down, we don't have any choice, so this should theoretically just fit in there. And you can see it just fits around the pin and it can pull it out. So if I let that go again. Now if you don't have one of these, you could use a pair of pliers or wire cutters as long as you're careful. Now what I do is I lay cloth down across the guitar first, and then I can rest my hand and the wire cutters against the cloth, get hold of the tip and pull. Thus, these are thin nose pliers, so these are perfect for the job. However, I've also in the past, when I haven't been able to get hold, used wire cutters, but there's a thin side of the wire cutters, and I just push this in. Don't tighten down, you just put it around and just grip it lightly and then pull upwards. And this is an excellent way of doing this as well. So whichever way you do it, the first job is, when changing a string on one of these guitars, is to actually remove the pin and then remove the broken string. There we have it. Now at this end of the guitar you can see that the loose string is obvious, the broken string, because it's hanging freely, so we want to unwind that and remove it. So there's the string removed. Now as always, I suggest to clean up where you're replacing the string. If you're only doing one string, I'll just do one string initially. Just clean up as far as you can, I sometimes use paintbrush. This is actually easier, but today I'm using the cloth because it's to hand. And there you have it. It's all clean and ready to have the new string put on there. Once we've removed all the remnants of the broken string, we can now unpack a new string and put that on. You'll notice the string that's actually broken on this is the B string, which in this particular case is a 13 gauge string. So we'll get this out now. Now what actually happens is the nipple just goes straight in the hole, thus. However, if you just push the nipple in and push the pin down, there's a groove which the string runs down. Thusly, what will happen when you tighten it up, it'll pull it out. And this is because, if I can get that out and demonstrate, the string will sit on the end. And when you tighten it up, because the string's sat on the end, it'll just pull on the whole thing and send it flying across the room. So in order to avoid this, what we do is we get the end of the string and we bend it like that. So we've got a little 90-degree bend. Now then we push this in the hole and straighten it up so that we know the nipple is bent away from the hole. Then we put the pin in, make sure it goes down and locates. See, it's still coming onto the end there. It's being a tricky one. So. What's going on? There we go. And there, the nipple is located at the side of the pin and not on the end. So when you pull on it, the pin doesn't move. So that's now ready. We can wind that up to the other end, and that string will be done. Right, we've got this end of the neck ready. We've taken the string off, we've cleaned it up. We now bring the new string down through the slot in the nut and through the hole in the ferrule. Let's see, let's get that in there. There we go. Flicking out. There we go. You're going to stay. Yes, there we go. In it is. So now this one, because it's so close to the edge, I'm going to let it wind round a little. So I'm going to give it a little free play. If it tightens here, the string's resting on the sharp edge of the hole, and it could well break it, given it a little bit of time. So I tend to let it wind round at least until it's resting on one of the rounded areas of the ferrule there. So I'll let it wind. There we go. So from there, take up the slack. Remember, as you wind it, pluck it. Why'd you do this? So you don't overwind it and break the string. So wind and pluck. So let's hear. So we've got it reasonably good there. The next step is simply to cut the access string off. Now initially, because there may be a little bit of slip, leave about an inch. You can cut that inch off when it's settled, when the string's settled. Give it a few days. There we go. And now the guitar's ready for tuning and ready for playing again. Right, we've replaced the B string, and this is now a new string. So we'll replace one of the other strings. We'll do the top E string as if we're replacing it and it's not broken. We're just going to replace it because it's worn. So there's two ways of doing this to remove the string. One way is to actually unwind it from the machine head. I find this time consuming. So I do the quick route, which is to actually cut the string off. It looks brutal, but it doesn't do the guitar any harm. So there we go, string cut. Once the string's loose, either from the machine head or by being cut, we can get hold of the pin and see if it'll come out without a tool. So let's try that. And sure enough, in this case, it's just coming straight out. So I'll remove that, and then we take out the end of the string. Then we go to the other end of the guitar and make sure the whole string is removed completely. So let's do that now. Once we've taken the old string off completely so that it's all clean, we select the new top E string to go on. I'm using a 9 here because I like ultralight strings on my guitars, so we have the 9 here. The first thing we have to do, if you remember, is to bend the nipple so that it's at 90 degrees so it doesn't stick on the end of the pin. Then we just push that in again. Now remember, the pin has got a groove in it. Let's see if we can focus on that. And the string should go down that groove. So let's push that in with the string down that groove. There we go, and pull it up. And there we do we? Yes, there we have success. The string's ready to go. Give it a little tug just to check that the nipple hasn't located on the end of the pin, because the pin will start to come out. If this comes out whilst you're tuning, it can fly across the room and it can actually be really dangerous. So we have the string in that end. We now have to thread it up to the other end and finish the job off. Right, we've removed the old string and we're threading the new one up. I'm going to take this round the ferrule once and then through the hole. Save me having to do lots of winding in a minute. There we go. Is it going to? It is going to fly up. Always seems to do this. There we go. That way. Right, and now we start the thing tightening. There we go. Always pluck the string as you're tightening. Remember this rule, because then if you wildly over tighten it, you don't predict how far it's gone. You could easily break the string. So by plucking it and tightening it, you know it's not going to break. You'll notice it goes up and then goes down. This is the string slipping as it locates. And this is why we leave a little bit on the new strings left, that little inch. By leaving the inch, you allow it to slip slightly. If you don't allow that inch and it slips, the string could fly off and you'll need to buy another new string, which obviously is a waste of money. So there we go. I'll leave that until I get the tuner on it, and then we'll cut off that little bit of string. Remember the rule to get rid of all the bits of string, because pets and children can easily take their eyes out on this. It's really sharp. Here we go, we've got the guitar tuned. So I'm just going to cut that little bit of string off, leave an inch so it can stretch, and it's done, ready for playing. Thank you.